Welcome back for another video. It's that time of the week to get some ideas and inspiration by looking at what the experts of FPL are doing. With data from hundreds of top FPL managers with hundreds of top 10k finishes to their name, let's get straight into it with lots to cover this week. Starting with the manager highlight, and it's getting increasingly tighter at the top of the Experts League. Asghar Bori scored 65 points and he leads the pack with a rank of 4.1k. There's 5 managers in the top 50k in the league and there's 10 in the top 100k at this stage, so they're climbing the ranks steadily. Aaron got the biggest score in the league last game with 92 points. Not many are rolling the transfer this week coming out of the international break, just 17%. 31% are making 1 transfer, 34% are making 2, and 11% are making 3, and there's a couple of experts making 4 moves this week. Lots of hits this week as well, which is quite unusual. I'm looking forward to seeing which players are spending all these hits on. 15 managers have taken a -4, 3 have taken a -8, and 1 has even taken a -12. Oh, and 5% have got their wildcard active as well. In fact, we caught up with one of the experts who's got a bunch of top 10k finishes who's activated his wildcard. Later in the video we'll look at his team and his thoughts. So, who are they buying and selling? The most bought player this week is Isak, 28% are buying him. This one makes a lot of sense when you look at who's being sold as well. Solanke, the most sold forward before he plays Man City, 22% have sold him, and 10% have sold Haaland as well. I mean, if you can make the switch from Haaland to Isak and then a midfielder to Salah or Palmer, on paper that's an unbelievably strong pair of transfers. 20% are buying Salah, 13% buying Palmer. So on Isak then, he was on the score sheet again for Sweden over the international break. He did miss a penalty as well in their second game, but we'll pretend that didn't happen. He's home to West Ham, who conceded 19 goals this season. Wolves, Brentford, Ipswich and Southampton are the teams that have conceded more, so they're in unwanted company. If you're not buying Isak now, consider a plan to get him in Game Week 15 for that crazy run of 3 games when he's got Brentford, Leicester and Ipswich, facing 3 of the worst defences in the league there. João Pedro, Saka and Salah are actually all tied in second, 20% buying them all. After some unwelcome drama early in the season, after not being called up by Brazil and then getting a late call up, this time João Pedro didn't play for Brazil, so he's had some time off as well after his return from injury, and we saw the massive impact he had against City off the bench with a goal and an assist. Brighton's fixtures as well, unbelievable till the new year, and he's only 5.5 mil. He's got the likes of Southampton, Leicester, West Ham and Brentford to come. I'm not entirely convinced he starts every single match over this run, but he's cheap enough for that not to be a major headache, plus he's got the penalty duty, so it makes him even more appealing. So is Lewis's time up as an FPL asset? 5% are selling him. The most bought defenders this week are Hull, 18% buying him, and then it's Gabriel, Aït-Nouri, Konaté and Colwill. All of those make a lot of sense. In Aït-Nouri's case, he is away to Fulham, so that's going to have low clean sheet potential in fairness, but he is the most attacking of them all here. 12% are buying Fernandes after his 17-pointer, which topped Game Week 11 before the break. He's still got a couple of amazing fixtures, Ipswich and Everton, so it's not too late to buy. But then he does have Arsenal, Forest and Man City before some easier games again. Just 2% are selling Wood, who of course does have Arsenal this week, but he's got that Ipswich home game, which is a fixture that most people are holding him for. I suppose those sellers are going to be mostly the wildcarders. You can't make a strong case for going without them on the wildcard, to be honest, because realistically you're only going to use them for 1 week until maybe Game Week 15 when they're away at Man United. But again, who knows what Amorim's Man United are going to look like then, and how the potential new manager bounce will have improved them. Trent looks like a big doubt for the Southampton game then, unfortunately, so he is the most sold player this week with 27% dropping him. And spoilers, he has dropped out of the Experts team as well, which we'll look at later. On to the next segment, the chip overview. So, the wildcard's the only chip that's active this week, 5% activated over the break, so only 4% still have it remaining. If you still have your wildcard, you've got until Game Week 19 to use it or you lose it, after which point from Game Week 19 afterwards we get a second wildcard. So Harry's activated his wildcard. He's finished top 10k 3 times in the last 6 seasons, and he shared his team with us, which is as follows. It's Onana and Fabianski in goal. In defence he's got Timber, Gabriel, Hull, O'Shea and Digne. In midfield he's got Palmer and Bumo, Salah, Bruno, Rogers, and up front João Pedro, Isak and Watkins. He shared his thoughts behind the decision to activate it, his FPL strategy, and why he's picked the players that he's gone for. I have to say, by the way, this is the most comprehensive answer I've ever received in an experts video, so if you like longer content this will be right up your street. If not, I have timestamped it to jump ahead, but I'd recommend listening to his insight. So Harry said, I've taken the decision to activate my wildcard for Game Week 12 for a few reasons. Number 1, the fixture swings. Arsenal, Chelsea, Newcastle, Aston Villa and Brighton all have good fixtures in the medium to long term through to Game Week 19. Number 2, my team up until game week 11 including 3 Spurs, 2 Man City players, and 2 teams with varying form and tricky schedules over the next month, and I want to move these players out. Number 3, I want to take Haaland out and spread the money around my team without having to use the free transfers. Number 4, Manchester United, and in particular Bruno Fernandes, look to be at the start of an upward curve in form, plus they'll probably have a new manager bounce with Ruben Amorim coming in. I want to get on the hype train. Looking at my team, the no-brainer picks are Isak. Among forwards, he's only second to Haaland for XGI over the last 4 game weeks, and he's got the second highest number of big chances, 7 over that period. Tasty fixtures until February, including this week West Ham home, and in game week 16 and 17 Leicester and Ipswich. A great hold if he can stay fit, and he's on penalties. João Pedro, arguably Brighton's talisman. We just haven't seen it recently due to the injury. Very encouraging quote from Herzler following the Manchester City game, calling him a great leader and the one player who makes the special things, might be on penalties. Salah, simply the best, and he has renewed confidence following his brilliant hair transplant, on penalties. Palmer, he's experienced a slight dip in form over the last 4 game weeks, but that's probably down to the quality of the opponent. Chelsea now go on an incredible run of fixtures right through to January. Maresca has Chelsea playing much better football this year, with Palmer at the heart of it. Chelsea are 4th for expected goals and big chances created this season, and they have the 3rd highest goal conversion, on penalties. Fernandes, he's got the 3rd highest XG over the last 4 game weeks, and he has the joint 2nd, along with Salah, most big chances in that period as well, 4 chances converting 1. Manchester United have got good fixtures in the short term, and when they score, you expect Fernandes to be involved. He's on penalties. And Bumo, his numbers have dipped recently, but he has 2 good fixtures coming up. This is a short-term pick. Unless he gets back to pre-game week 10 stats, it'll probably be a cash cow for Saka by game week 16 at the latest. Still, he is Brentford's talisman, and he is on penalties. Gabriel, they've got a good run of games through to January, and despite having not kept the clean sheet since game week 4, and they have the 3rd lowest XGC and big chances conceded this season. With the fixtures turning, I'm expecting a few more clean sheets between now and the new year. Gabriel has the highest goal threat of the Arsenal defenders, and with Odegaard back, he might be given a good few crosses to get his head on, especially from set pieces. Hall, he's cheap and he's playing for a team going through an upturn in form, and among defenders for expected assists over the last 4 game weeks, albeit that mostly comes from assists against Chelsea in game week 9, as well as 5th for chances created. 4-mil defender is O'Shea. He's secure for minutes, which is a main quality in your cheap backup defender, and Ipswich topped the season ticker on Fantasy Football Scout when you sort by defence for game week 12 to 17. And then Fabianski, a playing 4-mil goalkeeper, is what dreams are made of. Hopefully he keeps his place, and he's good for save points when he's called upon. So from here it's about filling the remaining gaps, and my first thought was to triple up on the midfield premiums by adding Saka alongside Salah and Palmer. However, his niggling injury and Arteta's deceitful press conferences and washbag shenanigans have given me pause for thought, and on reflection, Arsenal's fixtures from an attacking point of view aren't the best in the short term. The fixtures get really good for them game week 16 to 18, where they have a glorious triple header of Everton, Crystal Palace and Ipswich. So I feel I can't wait on Saka and put the cash elsewhere. Enter Ollie Watkins. In the last 4 game weeks, the Aston Villa talisman has been underwhelming by his high standards, and I think he's become somewhat forgotten in the FPL community. However, his numbers have been okay, and if he'd put away 1 or 2 chances, there might be a bit more buzz around him now. In the short term, Villa have got the best fixtures. 3 of the next 4 are at home: Crystal Palace, Brentford and Southampton, and I won't be surprised to see Watkins get a minimum of 3 returns in this period. Furthermore, the fixtures turn for Villa at game week 16, which is the perfect time to hop off Watkins to get Saka in. So Watkins is a short-term differential. Well, can you say that when his ownership's 22%, with a lot of potential? Rodgers, see above, and budget constraints mean I've picked him over Semenyo. Digne, I can't believe that I rejigged my entire defence just to bring in Luca Digne, the legendary FPL troll that he is. However, once I scratch beneath the surface, the data suggests that Digne's playing some of his best football this season. Digne's top among defenders for big chances created in the last 4 game weeks, and himself has 1 big chance, making him 2nd for XGI as well. The clean sheet odds are looking good with 3 home games against weak opposition. Thanks very much for the write-up, Harry. Best of luck on the wildcard. Moving on to Experts Captaincy, and here's what the experts are doing this week. Number 1 is Salah, with 77% captain in the Egyptian King, and it's Haaland in 2nd with 19%, and then Palmer with 4%. There's huge points potential this week, looking at how the fixtures have fallen. We've got Liverpool away at Southampton, Man City home to Spurs, and Palmer away at Leicester. Haaland tops the anytime goal scorer probabilities, given exactly a 50% chance of scoring any time. So if you want to back purely who's the likeliest to score, then he's your man. Of course, it's more nuanced than that, with Salah getting an extra point per goal, better assist potential, and a potential clean sheet point. What do FPL review projections say this week? It's got Salah top with 7.7, and then it's Haaland 7.3, and then Palmer 7.0. So it's pretty close in fairness. Honourable mentions to Isak and Bruno as well in 4th and 5th. If you want a full breakdown of FPL Review's projections by position, make sure you watch the Players to Buy video from earlier this week if you've not seen it yet. I'll put it on screen at the end. Let's get into the Experts Team for GW12, or the template team using the 15 most owned players across all their teams. There's been a few changes. It's Flecken in goal again. In defence it's Mykolenko, Aït-Nouri and Gabriel. In midfield it's Mbeumo, Palmer, Saka and Salah, and up front it's Raul Jimenez, Cunha and Isak. The bench is Fabianski, Rogers, Lewis and Greaves. Saka, Isak and Mykolenko join the team this week. Semenyo, Solanke and Trent drop out. A bit light at the back, but an incredibly strong team overall this week with 3 premium midfielders, Isak up top and so on. Rogers obviously as well, a very strong player to be benching. The question is really, who would you actually drop here? Perhaps Cunha if anyone, given it's an away game. Haaland, the only player on the list here with negative ownership when we compare the experts' ownership to overall ownership. He's 46% owned by the experts and 63% overall this week. Haaland's still actually the second most owned forward, but the team has to be kept within budget obviously, so he drops out. Mbeumo is the most owned player on the experts, he's in 97% of teams. I wonder how many will consider moving Mbeumo on in a couple of weeks' time once their fixtures don't look as good. Harry mentioned it earlier. He is still their main man though, and he's on penalties, so I think there's going to be divided opinions on that. Moving on to the final thoughts and tips sent in by the experts this week. FPL Soccer says, finally time to get rid of DCL, welcome to the team João Pedro. It was a tough call selling Trent before Southampton, but I had to move early to beat the price changes, plus I think they'll play Bradley and keep Trent fit for the midweek game against Real Madrid. I've been planning on jumping off Brennan Johnson for the City fixture, and it's the perfect week to bring in Saka before his great run of fixtures. Hopefully Salah doesn't punish me too much. Benny M90 says the United lineup under Amrin could literally be anything, so those considering that asset should be very cautious. Bruno is probably the only certainty out of the popular FPL players. JSNLN says Isak has the best attacking fixtures until game 18, when we'll probably be leaning towards Haaland again, no brainer for me. Stuart Brandt says, I did the Haaland to João Pedro move early to avoid Haaland after not being impressed with City or Haaland at Brighton. If given myself more time I might have gone for Isak instead. I could still do Rogers to Salah instead of Brenner now. Last game it was a red because I trusted Spurs and Solanke, not that Haaland captain would have been much better. I expect Haaland to go big now I've removed him, but I'm going to hold firm regardless. FPL USA Bucks sold Trent and Trossard for Palmer and Aït-Nouri and says, I'm not positive about the budget defender pick, but I'm going to try my best to wait on making any moves here. I could also swap out Solanke and keep Trent for one more game week. Going no Salah again feels scary against Southampton. And lastly, Marco says that's the last international break until next year. We've made it. Let the back-to-back FPL carnage commence. Thanks for watching. If you appreciate the time that goes into each of these videos, hit like and make sure you're subscribing. See you soon for the next one.